Hello everyone, welcome to Easy Explanation. In this video tutorial, I'll be discussing all these topics: a structure of C++ program, character set and tokens, operators and punctuators, variable declaration and expression statements, data type, type conversion and promotion rules, preprocessor directives, namespace, user defined constant like const, input output stream, and manipulators. So in order to understand all these topics, I hope that every one of you are familiar with C programming language, because C++ is compatible, or C programming language is compatible with C++. So I hope every one of you have like basic concept of how C programming language works. Now let us start the tutorial of C++ programming language. Now before understanding the structure of C++ program, let us understand what C++ program actually is. So C++ is an object-oriented programming language. Now, in order to avoid all the limitations of procedural programming language that we have discussed in first video, the C++ programming language was introduced. So C programming language plus its object-oriented feature is C++ programming language. So all the computer programs that are written using C programming language can also be executed by C++ programming language. So that is all about what C++ programming language is. Now let us understand the structure of C++ program. So what you need to understand is all the programming language must follow some standard structure and format, and you need to write your computer programs using that standard structure and format. So what is the standard structure of C++ program? So for that, I'll be using this dev C++ application to write a source code of C++. I'll create a new source file and name this source file with a name like program1 and extension as .cpp. Now let us write a simple program that will display hello world message. So hash include IOStream, and I'll write using namespace std. Now I'll declare a main function or define a main function, and inside the main function that I'll write a statement that will display a hello world message, and finally I'll write a statement return 0. So this is how we write a C++ program. This program consists of two parts, like the first two statements are called as preprocessor directive, and this is the main function. So your C++ program consists of preprocessor directive and main function here. So we have preprocessor directives and a main function. So what do you mean by preprocessor directives? So preprocessor directives are the set of statement or the statement that are executed by a special program of a compiler called as a preprocessor. It instructs the preprocessor to execute those statements before the main function are compiled, or the statement within the main functions are compiled. So preprocessor directives are the statements that get executed before program compilation. That's the reason why it is called as a preprocessor, means this statement get executed before your program compilation, and preprocessor directives are executed by a special program of compiler called as preprocessor. So this preprocessor within the compiler execute the preprocessor directives. So that is all about the preprocessor directives. Now let us understand what this statement does. Hash include IO stream. So hash include IO stream. Whenever your preprocessor encounter this statement hash include IO stream, it just copies the content of IO stream into your source file. So the preprocessor just copies the content of IO stream header file available in include directory to source code. In this case our source code is prog1.cpp. so preprocessor just copies the content of IO stream into our source file prog1.cpp. so that is the meaning of this statement. Now we have another statement called as using namespace std. So using namespace std, so this is another preprocessor directives. So what this statement does is, so for that what you need to understand is your C++ program consists of number of namespaces. So a C++ program consists of number of namespace. And what is namespace? Then namespace is a part of program in which variables, functions are declared. Means all the variables and functions declared within the given namespace are recognized within that namespace only. Means in this case we have used a built-in namespace called as a std, and this std namespace declares and define different types of like variable. Like what are the variables we have used here? Like cout. So cout is the variable that we are using here, or the keyword that we are using here. So cout variable or the keyword is defined within this namespace std. I will be discussing about this namespace concept in detail like after this. So this is about the namespace. So namespace is a part of computer program in which different variables are declared. It is similar to something like this. Within your C++ program we have a namespace called as std, and within this namespace std a variable called as a cout is declared. Now in order to use this variable within your C++ program, you have to include this namespace. That is the reason why you need to use this statement using namespace std, so that all the variable declared within this namespace std get imported into your source code before you start executing or compiling your program. So this is the way to understand the concept. So I will write down this statement again. So before program compilation starts, all the variables declared within std namespace is imported, or you can say copy into source program, which is in our case prog1.cpp. So that is about your namespace keyword. Now after the preprocessor directives are executed, or all the content of the preprocessor statement are copied into your C program or in your source file, what we'll do is the actual compilation of program starts. So program compilation always starts from the main function. So your compiler always looks for the main function when to start executing or start compilation of your program. So main function acts as entry point of your program. So if your program does not contain main function, your program will throw error when it start compiling when your compiler start compiling your computer program. So your program should at least include one of the main function to execute the given statements. So all the functions, main functions are responsible to call other functions, object. So all the instruction and statements should start with the main function and should end at the main function. So all the instruction, statement and function should start with main function and end with main function. So the statement within the main function are the statement to be executed. So since we have declared a main function something like this, int main, now in order to define all the statements that belongs to the main function, all the statements should be grouped within this curly braces. So this curly braces denote a start of the main function and end of the main function. Within the main function we have a statement like cout hello world, right? And we have another statement return 0. Since execution of program starts with the main function, inside the main function the first statement that need to be executed is this cout statement. So this statement just display the message hello world on your console or in your computer screen. So now let us understand what does this cout means here. So in order to understand the statement cout hello world, what you need to understand is you need to understand the concept of stream, stream. So stream is used by C++ program for data input and output. So C++ program uses the concept of stream in order to handle the data input into your source program and data output from your source program. So this stream is divided something like this. So if this is a stream, it is divided into two categories. One is I stream and another is O stream. I stream stands for input stream and O stream stands for output stream. I stream is responsible for, so I stream is responsible for data input into C++, and O stream is responsible for data output from C++. Now in order to read the data into your source file, you will be using in I stream, and in order to read the data or in order to write the data out of your C++ program, you need to use the concept of O stream. So in order to read the data in order to read the data out, you have to use this output stream. So example of I stream object is cin, and example of the O stream object is cout. So in order to perform the output operation, we will be using the object cout, which stands for standard output stream, and in order to read the data into your source program, we will be using the concept of cin, which stands for standard input stream. So cin stands for standard input stream and cout stands for standard output stream. So this cin and cout will be used throughout your C++ program in order to read the data into your source file and in order to write the data out of your source file. Now once you have the idea about what the cin and cout are, now let us understand this statement again. Cout, then hello world and / new line. Now cout is a output stream, so here cout is object of output stream or standard output stream. So this cout object is responsible to write the content hello world into a standard output device, and this thing, so this is the operator, it is called as insertion operator. So how does this work is, let us say we have a variable in which some values are there. So let us say we have a variable. Now the content of variable should be written into cout. The content of variable should be written into C output stream, and it is written by using this insertion operator. So the content of variable must be written into, content of variable is written into cout by using this operator, which is insertion operator, into this cout object, and cout object will help you to write the output into your console. The console may be your terminal. So this is how your cout works. So the content here is hello world. So the hello world message or the constant is written into your cout object by using this insertion operator, and this cout object write the constant into your console, and in this way in your output screen hello world message is displayed. In this way the hello world message is displayed. Now inside the main function we have the last statement, something like this, int main, and we have return 0. Now if you are familiar with C programming language, then you should know all the means a function can return a value or a function cannot return a value. If function is returning some values, its return type must be mentioned in its signature. Now int is the return type of function main, and the function main should return a value. Now where a function main should return a value, the function main should always return a value in its executing environment. So since your main function is executing within your compiler and your compiler is executing within your operating system, so main function return the value 0 to your operating system. So the value 0 has some special meaning, which means 0 stands for successful termination of program. So this should always be a last statement of your main function. So return 0 should always be last statement. So once all the statements are executed, then only return 0 should be specified within your program. So once your compiler encounters this return 0, it returns the value 0 to the operating system environment, and operating system environment will assume that your program has been successfully terminated, and in this way your program your compiler or your operating system will free the spaces occupied for this int main function, and in this way program terminates. So this is how your C++ program works. So these first two statements stands for preprocessor directive. So all the content of IO stream will be copied into your program1.cpp. All the variable declared within the std will be copied into your program1.cpp, and the variable cout is declared within the std. So your program will not throw the error. Like if I'll comment out this line, then the compiler will ask what cout here is. Like cout was not declared in the scope. As you can see the error here, cout was not declared in the scope. Why? Because the declaration of cout is maintained within the namespace std. Now once we include the namespace std, the compiler will have idea about where to look out for the variable cout. Now the variable cout is defined within the namespace. Our compiler will get the idea about that, and it will not throw the error, and will get the message as a hello world. So in this way a C++ program works. First we write a source code, then the source code will be compiled by your compiler, and your compiler will produce one executable file, and your executable file will be executed to get the output, something like this, which will be displayed on your terminal. This is how your C++ program works and executes. Now once we have the idea about what the structure of C++ program is, now let us understand character set, tokens, identifier, literals, and the concept of variables and constants. Now as you already know, C++ programming language is compatible with C programming language. So all the concept of C programming language is also valid for the C++ programming language. So all the concepts of C program is also valid for C++ program. Like if you do not have the idea about how C program actually works, is then we have uploaded a complete tutorial on C programming language in our channel. Please go through that. Now let us understand the concept of character set and tokens. Now what we have to understand is, since we are trying to learn a language, like C++ programming language is also a language. Now in order to learn any language in general, you need to understand its alphabets, right? So first we need to understand its alphabet, and from alphabet we will be creating the word, and from the word we'll be creating the sentence. In general, every language follow this structure. Like if you want to learn any language, then you have to follow this structure. Now since we are trying to learn a computer language, which is C++ program, then C++ program also have its own alphabets. So alphabets of C++ programming language are characters, then it will have some numbers. Okay, so characters are all the special symbol like plus, minus, multiply, @ etc. And numbers are all the numbers from 0 to 9. And alphabets include all the alphabets from a small a to a small z and capital A to capital Z. So these are the alphabets of C++ programming language and also for the C programming language. Now by combining this character, number and alphabet, will be forming variables, keywords and constant. Now this number, character and alphabets will be combined in some special order or in meaningful order in order to form variables, keywords and constant. And variables, keywords and constant will be combined in some special order or in some special format to form sentences or instructions. Now you already know that the set of instruction is called as what? Computer program, and the set of computer programs are nothing but computer software. In this way you have to write the C++ program, or you need to understand the concept of C++ program. Now I'll be discussing in brief what variables, keywords and constant is. Then like the concept is very much similar to C programming language, so like you should have an idea about C programming language in order to understand the concept in C++. So I will be discussing in brief about all these concept. So what is variable? Variables are nothing but name given to a memory location. Name given to a memory location. Now what do you mean by name given to memory location? Let us say we have a computer program, and your computer program is stored in your computer RAM. So what happens is, in order to execute the computer program that is stored in your RAM, your CPU will fetch the data stored in the RAM. Now in order to provide the extra input to the computer system, the user will input some data into your RAM. So data need to be, let us say, input the value 10. So your value 10 should be stored somewhere in your memory location. So it is stored in some named memory location. Let us say if you are to input 10 into your RAM, then what happens is your compiler will reserve some space in your computer RAM and give this space as a value 10. Now this space will have a computer generated address, something like this. Now this computer generated address is not so much user friendly, or you cannot remember this address. What will happen is, we will give this memory location as a name or user defined name, let us say A. Now in this case, now this location is named as a variable. This location is named as a name as a, and in this location we have a value 10 here. So A is called as a variable name. So variable name is nothing but a name given to a memory location. Now in place of 10 we can also store the value 20. In place of 20 we can also store the value 30 here. Since the value at this location keeps on changing, this variable, this entity is called as a variable, means its value keeps on changing, and this thing 30, 20 or 10 are called as what? Constant, because its value cannot be changed. Means the value at this location keeps on changing, so it is a variable name, and these are called as what? Constant here. So this is all about the variable name and constant. Now C programming language, like C++ programming language, C++ program supports all the constants that are supported by C program. So the constant in C program or in C++ program is divided into again two categories. They are primitive constant and non-primitive constant. Non-primitive constants. So primitive constants are the basic data types. Primitive constants are basic data type like int, float, char, and non-primitive data types are composed of this int, float, and char. So concept like array, structure, union are the example of non-primitive data types. So non-primitive data types are derived from the primitive data type or the basic data type. So C programming language support all the basic data type that are supported by C programming. Means C++ programming language support all the data type that are supported by C programming language. So in this way you need to understand the concept. So now we'll be understanding about the concept of variable declaration, or why variable declaration is required. Now we already know that we have a limited memory space and your memory space need to be used widely. Now if you are creating a variable, it means what? We are reserving some space and that space is given some name, right? Now in this space we'll giving some values. Let us say this is and this is the value here. So here A and B are the variable name, and 10 and 20 are the values stored into this variable names. So how to declare a variables? So let us say we have created another variable and its value 20.05. So your program should know what type of values are stored into these variable names, right? So your compiler should have the idea about what types of value that you are going to store into your variable name. So your compiler should know what type of values need to be stored in variable. So this thing define the structure or syntax of the variable name. That is the reason why you should declare a variable always something like this. You should include the data type, then you can write the variable name. So data types and variable name. So this is the variable name and this is the data type. So you should instruct the compiler that what types of values need to be stored into this variable name. Let us say I want to store an integer value 10. So what you have to do is data type is int, and whatever value you are trying to store, integer value. So let us declare a int a, and in a we are storing the value 20. So what this thing instruct your compiler is reserve size of int space into memory, name the reserved space as a, assign value 10 into a. In this way you need to interpret your variable declaration. So all the variables that are used in C++ program need to be declared first, otherwise your compiler will throw error. So all the variables must be declared first before usage. So if you are using the variable name without declaration, then it will throw the error. You cannot simply write c is equals to 20. So your compiler will ask what c here actually is. So you have to mention that float c, means c is a variable of type float, then only you can assign some values into this variable. So in this way the variable works, and the name of variable should always follow the standard followed by C programming variable naming convention. So the variables of C++ should always follow the naming standard used by variable in C program. Okay, so you have to remember this concept also. So this is all about the variables in C++ programming language. Now once you have the idea about what are the variables in, like how to declare a variable in C programming language, now let us understand the data types in C programming language. Data types in C++. So C++ again supports all the standard data type supported in C program. If you do not have the idea about what are the different data types supported in C++ or in C programming language, we have made a detailed videos on that. Please go through that videos. So mainly we have data type to handle number and character. In the number we have again we have unsigned and signed number. Unsigned number do not include any sign like plus or minus, and signed number includes the sign as a positive and negative values. Now signed and unsigned both are, again it consists of floating point values as well as integer values. Floating point and integer. So floating point values are used to denote fractional values or fractional number, fractional or decimal values, and integer values or integer data type are used to denote the whole numbers. So just in summary I'm telling you all the concept. So floating point are used to denote fractional values and decimal values, and integer are used to denote the whole number. And again floating points are divided, like there can be different types of floating point values, something like double and long double. So double and long doubles are defined based on that memory space it requires. So obviously double and long doubles are used to denote very large floating point values, so it requires much more larger memory space compared to this float data type. Now integer, again we have different types of integer depending upon the memory space it requires, something like short, int and long. Short, int and long. So these are the different data types of different values supported by the number data type or numbers in C++ programming language. And in character data type, so character are used to denote the special symbols, and it always occupied 1 byte of space, and the values of characters should always be included within the single quote. So the concept is very much similar to the C programming language concept. So you can summarize the data type something like this. You can summarize your data type. So there can be integer values, there can be character values, and there can be floating point values. Now depending upon the memory space requirement of integer, character and floating point, they are again divided into int, short and long. So all these data types, int, short and long, they have their own kinds of memory requirement, and characters are of data type char, and floating points are of the data type float, double and long double. So depending upon the memory space requirement or the type of values that you are dealing with, we have to use all these different types of data types. So int, short and long, they are categorized based on the memory requirement. So obviously long will have a more memory requirement compared to int, and int will have more memory requirement compared to short. In case of floating point values, the float have least memory requirement, double have more memory requirement compared to float, but less memory requirement compared to long double. In this way you can define the data type, or you can use the data types. So data types should always be associated with when the variable names are declared. It denotes whatever values are going to be stored in the given data types. So in this way you have to understand the concept. So after that, the next concept that we need to understand is the operators and punctuators. what are different operators supported by C++ programming language. So operators in C++ are all the operators supported in C programming language. So we have also made a detailed videos on what are the different operators in C programming language. Please go through that video tutorial if you do not have the idea about what are different operators supported in C programming language. So all the operators that are supported in C programming language are also supported in C++ programming language. So I'll give the brief idea about what are the different operators we have. The operators we have are unary operator. In unary operator we have a positive sign, negative sign, then we have this operator, this indirection operator, then we have arithmetic operator. In arithmetic operator we have the operators like multiply, divide, modulus and plus, minus. Then we have the operator something like arithmetic, relational. In relational operator we have less, greater than, less than equals to, greater than equals to and double equals to. Then we have arithmetic, relational, logical. So in logical operator we have logical and, logical or and logical not. Then we have, after the logical operator we have something like bitwise operator. In bitwise means bitwise operator act on the bit level like bitwise and, bitwise or and bitwise not. Then we have I think some special operator something like this ternary operator and the comma operator. Ternary operator and comma operator are the special operator supported by C programming language. So these are the operators supported in C programming language, and in turn it is also supported in C++ programming language also. And unary operator, I forgot to mention this increment operator and decrement operator, and it also support like concept like this increment and decrement operator also support the concept of pre-increment and post-increment that you have. I hope that you people have the idea about this. So these are the operators supported in C programming language, and operator precedence and associativity is also same as. So in C++, precedence and associativity of operator is similar to precedence and associativity of operator in C language. So we have also made a detailed video on different operators, precedence and associativity. Please go through that if you do not have the idea about what precedence and associativity actually is. So let us say we have a statement something like a is equals to 2 into 3 divided by 4. Now we have in this expression we have the operator something like equal to, which are the assignment operator. Then we have operator multiply and divide. So you all, like we have already idea about the according to the precedence and associativity of the operator, the arithmetic operator will have a higher precedence compared to this assignment operator. So this operator will be executed first. So a statement after the equal to operator, which is 2 into 3 divided by 4. Now we have a 2, again we have a 2 operators here, into and divide. This we have 2 operator multiply and divide. Now multiply and divide both are at the same priority level or same precedence level. Now how to break up the tie, or how to break the tie here, because multiply and divide are at the same precedence level. Now it follows the left to right associativity. Now in order to break the tie we have to use the concept of associativity, and arithmetic operator follows left to right associativity. So left to right, so first 2 into 3 will be computed, which is 6. Now 6 divided by 4 will be 1. So in this way we will get the output. In this way the operator precedence and associativity works. Now after that we have the concept of type conversion and promotion rules. So type promotion and type casting. So I can say typecasting is a process by which variables or values in one data type can be converted into another data type. Means values or variable in one data type can easily be converted into values and variable of another data type. So there are two ways by which you can perform the typecasting. So there are two ways by which you can perform the typecasting. One is explicit typecast. Explicit typecast means automatic typecasting, and then another is implicit typecast. Implicit typecasting nothing but forced typecasting. Now let us first understand the concept of explicit typecasting, means automatic typecasting, how automatic typecasting is done. For that you have to understand the hierarchy of data type. Hierarchy of data type. So the hierarchy of data type is something like this. So first we have sort data type. Below sort we have char, then sort, then we have int, this is int, then we have a long, then we have float, then we have a double, and finally we have long double. So this is the hierarchy of different data types. So long double is at highest level of hierarchy and char is at lowest level of hierarchy. So automatic typecasting happens if you are converting the data of higher hierarchy into the lower hierarchy. So if data, like if you are performing operation between the data of higher hierarchy and the lower hierarchy, then automatic typecast happens. But if you are if you are trying to convert the data of lower data type into higher data type, then you have to perform the forced typecasting there. If you are converting the data of higher data type into lower data type, then automatic typecasting happens. Means if you are trying to convert the data of integer into double, let us say we are performing the operation between integer data type and long and double data type, then you can see double is have the highest hierarchy or highest priority compared to integer, so obviously or by default the data type will be converted into double. So here automatic typecast happens. So if you are multiply 2 into 0.5, then the result will be 1.0. So this integer values automatically get upgraded into the higher data type, which is of type float or double, because integer have lower hierarchy compared to the float and double. So in this way the automatic typecast happens. So let us write a code to understand the concept of automatic typecasting. For that I'll be creating a new source file and I'll name the file as implicit.cpp. Again we need to import all the required header files as include iostream using name space std, then int main. Let us say we have two variables here. One is of type integer int val1 is equals to 10, and another we have a double data type, double val2 is equals to 0.5. Now if we are performing the operation between value 1 and value 2, means we are trying to perform operation between integer and double. Since the operation is between the higher data type and the lower data type, there the resultant value will be automatically converted into the values of higher data type. So val2 into val1 slash n, and then write return 0. So you can see the result is 5. So the result is 5, so it should be displayed as a 5.00. so it is not mentioned here, but the data is automatically converted into the double data type. Like this concept will be more clear when we'll be discussing about the forced conversion or implicit conversion. In the forced conversion part, we'll be discussing those concepts. So after the automatic conversion, let us understand the concept of forced conversion, or implicitly convert the data values of one data type into another data type. For that, we'll be creating one more source file. So file, new source file. I'll save the file as, so I think this would be explicit and this would be implicit, so like confusion is there. So I'll write forced.cpp. Okay. So forced.cpp will be more clear. So I'll close this also. So has include IO stream. So if you are converting the values from lower data type into higher data type, then you have to follow the forced conversion. Then using name space std int main. Okay, let us say we have two values here. So since this main is a function, now let us declare a variable int a is equals to 2 and b is equals to 3, and we have another data type called as a float or double. Let us say double res, and in res we are trying to store the values res equals to a divided by b. So cout res slash n, and then write return 0. See, we are getting the result as a 0, but we are expecting the result as a 0.638. So 0.66 we are expecting the result, but we are getting the result as 0. Why? Because since we are trying to convert the data of lower data type into higher data type, the conversion does not happen automatically. We have to force the conversion. So the old style of forcing the conversion from one data type to another data type is, we can use something like this. So which data type we are trying to convert? We are trying to convert into floating point or double data type. So we have to convert one of the values either into the double data type. So what I will do is, I will convert a into double data type and simply divide it by b. Now let us see the result. Now this is the old style of conversion, mostly using C programming language. So in this case also you will get the value as 0.66. Another style of conversion is simply by using function style conversion, in which we can do double of a divided by b. Again, this will also convert the values a into double data type, and we'll get the result something like 0.667. So these both are the old style of conversion. So old typecasting. So you can see this is the comment lines are not executed by your compiler. So what we'll do is we'll create one more variable res2. So C++ style of typecasting. So C++ style of typecasting is something like this. res2 is equals to, what is the value that we are trying to convert? The value that we are trying to convert is, let us say, B or A, any one of them can be typecasted. So we'll be promoting one of the values into higher data type, then automatically we'll get the result as higher data type. So for that we have a keyword called as static cast, and within the angular bracket what you have to write is the data type that we are trying to convert it into. So I am trying to convert the values into double data type, and then within the bracket write the value of variable that you are trying to convert. Let us say I am trying to convert the values or variable A and then divide by B here. Now C out, you can write res2 and /n, and finally return 0. So you can see we are getting the result something like this. So this is the new C++ style of typecasting, or C++ standard style of typecasting. So I'll write the syntax of C++ standard style of typecasting here. So what we have to do is you have to write the keyword static underscore cast, within the bracket write the data type or destination data type that you are trying to convert it into, and then within the bracket write the variable name. Okay, let us say I want to convert this variable name into this data type, then you have to follow this syntax. Let us say we have a variable int a, and I'm trying to convert int a into float data type. So I'm trying to convert int into float. So our destination data type or desired data type is float. So what you have to do is you have to write the keyword static cast, static underscore cast, and within the data type we have to mention float. So this is our destination data type, and the variable name that we are trying to convert is variable name a. In this way you can convert the variable of one data type into another data type. In this way the conversion happens. So when you are, like, the summary of this will be, if you are trying to convert higher data type to lower data type, means if you are trying to perform operation between the values or variables of higher into lower data type, the result will be automatically higher data type. This is called as automatic conversion. If you are trying to convert the values or variables of lower data type into higher data type, then you have to follow forced conversion, and for the forced conversion you have to follow this syntax. Now after that, I have already discussed about preprocessor directive. Now let us understand the concept of namespace. So I have already discussed what namespace is. Namespaces are nothing but some part of the C++ program in which you can define or declare the variables. So namespace. So namespace are part of C++ program to declare and define variable and function. So entity, let us say entity or simply variables and function declare within namespace are not recognized out of namespace scope. Now the variables or the function that is declared within the given namespace are not recognized out of the namespace. Now in order to use the values or variable out of the namespace, now I'll write one more thing here. In order to use variables outside of namespace, we have to use something like this. Like you have to import the namespace into your source program by using this keyword, using namespace and the name of the namespace that you are trying to use. Using namespace. What is the name of namespace? Let us say the name of namespace is test. Then you have to import this test namespace into your source file. Or what you can do is you can simply write test is to, means this scope resolution operator in which scope the variable are declared or the function name is declared, then write the variable name. In this way you can use the namespace values or variables. So name of the namespace and scope resolution operator. We'll be discussing about this scope resolution operator in detail. Means this is used to resolve the scope, means in which scope your variable is defined. Now A, it means what? This variable A is defined within the namespace test. So you can go for this method, or you can use this preprocessor directive using namespace test. So in order to understand the concept, let us say we have a program. We'll be writing a program in order to understand the concept. So I will close this, close all, file, new, source file. I'll save this file as so test underscore name space dot cpp. Has include string. Now using name space std int main. Now cout hello world /n and simply write return 0. If I'll execute this code, then obviously we'll get the output as a hello world message, means everything is correct. Now let us say if this thing is not there or the using namespace is not declared there, I'm commenting it out here. Now we'll get the error something like cout was not declared in this scope, means the definition of cout variable, the definition of cout variable or object is not declared or defined within the scope of main function. Means you cannot simply use any variable that is not declared or defined. Now we already know that this cout is the built-in object or the object that is already included, and it is defined or declared within the namespace called as a std. In order to use that, what you have to do is you have to comment it out. You have to import the std so that all the variables and functions that are declared or defined within the std are imported into your main function, into your this source file, and now will not get any error. So this is the one way to do that, like using namespace std or by using simply your scope resolution operator, something like this. So std is the standard built-in namespace, so we can directly use it. And this is the scope resolution operator. These double colons are a scope resolution operator. It helps you to resolve the scope. So what is the scope of cout? The scope of cout is std namespace, and in this way the cout variable is resolved or the values are defined. I will not get any error. So these are the two ways by which we can use the namespace. Now let us say I want to create another variable called as a cout. Let us say I want to create another variable called as a cout into our program. Or if this is confusing, let us say I am creating another variable called as a int a is equals to 20, and again int a is equals to 30. Now obviously this will throw error, means variable cannot be declared. Redeclaration of a means you cannot redeclare the same variable again and again. Now this problem can be solved by using the concept of again namespace. So what we can do is we'll create a separate namespace here. So namespace, as I've already told you, namespace is the block of statement or a space in a computer, a space in your C++ program. Let us say I'm creating a namespace called as a test, namespace test, and within this namespace test I am declaring a variable again called as a int a is equals to 30. Okay, namespace int a is equals to 30. Now we have another variable called as a that is declared within the namespace test. So this here variable a is not recognized out of namespace test. See, if I'll execute this code, what I'll get the output, out cout a and l. So since a is the local variable to the function main, we'll get the value of a as a 20 here. Now how to access the values of variable that is declared within the namespace test? Now since the value is not recognized within the main function a, what you have to do is we have to use a scope resolution operator again here. Now cout, in order to use the variable that declared within this test namespace, what you have to do, write the namespace test, name of the namespace which is test, and what is the value declared within this namespace test? It is a. It means what? This is the value, or this is the variable that is declared within the namespace test, which is entirely different from the local variable a here. Control S, and if I'll run the code, we'll get the output as a 20 and 30. As you can see, we are getting the correct result. This is the concept of namespace. This is the concept of namespace. It helps you to redeclare the variable. You can have variable of same name within your C++ program if you are using concept of namespace. So it is a space within the C++ program where you can declare a variable, define a variable, and initialize the variable also. In this way you can understand the concept. So here cout is declared within the namespace std. If I'll move the cursor here, so you can see OStream cout. As I already discussed, cout is a type of OStream or output stream, so it is declared within the namespace std. In this way you can understand the concept. Now user defined constant. So the const constant is used to create the what you call it, constant variable whose values cannot be changed. Means it is used to define a constant. You can simply say that. So let us say if I have declared a constant something like this, const I is equals to 10, and if I am trying to assign a new value into this I, let us say 20. See the result. So I does not have a const int, so it should have a type. See, assignment of read only variable. So if I'm declaring a variable as a constant data type or constant type, the variable become read only. You cannot perform the write operation, and in line number 15 I'm trying to perform write operation on the constant variable, so it is not allowed and it will get the error. So constant is used to create a read only data type or read only variables. Now another thing that you need to understand is user defined constant is done. Now input output streams and manipulator. So I already discussed the concept of a stream. Now let us understand the concept of input output manipulator. So input output manipulator. So the first input output manipulator that we'll be understanding is ENDL. So ENDL is input output or output manipulator. So you can say INDL is output manipulator. So what do you mean by output manipulator? So let us understand the concept. So output manipulator manipulates how the object cout will display the result. Means if you want to manipulate how your results should be displayed, you can use the input output manipulator or output manipulator. So one of the manipulator that we'll be understanding is int-l. So what is the use of int-l? So int-l, input output manipulator, inserts /n into output stream. So this int-l manipulator insert or introduce /n into your output stream, and then it process the output stream. Once the write operation is done, the output stream is flushed by using, if you are using the concept called as a int-l. So it inserts new line into your output stream. Once the output stream is done or the content is written, it flushes out the output stream. So let us understand this concept again. So I'll create one new file, new source file, save as, I'll save as a manipulator.cpp. So has include IO stream using namespace std int main and int a is equals to 10, and cout, let us say I want to display the message something like the value of a is equals to, now we are cascading the result or concatenating the two string here. So a, now you can write int-l. So instead of writing /n, what you can do is you can use the int-l. So like if you are getting confused what int-l actually is, its function is similar to the /n statement or /n, a special character that we used in C programming language. So the value of a is equals to a, I will get the result something like this, the value of a is equals to 10. So the work of int-l is to introduce or to append /n character to the output stream, and once the output stream or the content of output stream is written into the standard output device, it will flush the stream. So this is one of the input output manipulator. Another input output manipulator is setW. Another input output manipulator is setW, and it takes as argument like setW is the manipulator, input output manipulator. This setW input output manipulator is defined within the header file io_manip. So this setW function, which is the manipulator, is defined within this io_manip library file, or the io_manip library file it is defined. So what is the use of setW function? So setW function is used to set the width. So setW function is used to set the width, which is nothing but that is number of character spaces required to display variable. So since it is also input output manipulator, it is used to manipulate the way your output will be displayed. So by default, if you say something like this, if you have any variable int a is equals to 10 and let us say b is equals to, we have another variable b is equals to 20. Now in order to display the variable, simply what we'll do is cout b int-l. So while displaying, b will take only 2 character spaces. So while displaying on your console, b will just take 2 character spaces, which means for 2 1 space and for 0 another space. So okay, So if you are like we have any variable called as a int b is equals to 20. Now in order to display this 20, it occupies only two width or only two spaces in your console. This is first space or this is second space. So the total width is here. In order to display the value 20, the total width required is 2 here. Now you can control how many width can be taken up by a variable while displaying it by using the function called as a setW. So the syntax of setW function is set, I think the internet is slow, set int and int number, set w and int number. So number specifies the width of the width that you want to use to display the character. So int number means how many width you want to use. So int number specifies number of character spaces to be used for displaying variables. How many character width you are required to display the variable. Let us say I want to display this variable b is equals to 20 by using 10 spaces. Means if you want to display the variable, like I have a variable int b is equals to 10 and I want to take off 5, let us say 5 spaces in order to display the variable. So in console it appears something like this: 1 2 3 4. Okay, so 1 0 will be taken off here and the remaining space will be kept empty. Like if you are setting the width of like set w to 5 and then if you are displaying the result c out of b, so this b will take up the 5 character spaces 1 2 3 4 5 and the remaining space will be kept empty and the value will be 10 will be displayed something like this, something like this. So in this way it works. Now let us say I want to display the same result int b is equals to 20 by taking up 10 spaces. So what we'll do is c out, I want to manipulate the way the output will be displayed. So set w, how many spaces I require? I require 10 spaces. Now what we'll do is I want to display the value b and finally I'll write int l. So set w was not declared in the scope. In order to use the set w, what we have to do? We have to import the library #include IO_manip. So IO_manip, like set w is declared within IO_manip, so I have to import it before starting the execution. So you can see while executing the line number 8, it simply displays the value of variable b as a 20, but in line number 9 what we have done is we have set the width of this, like set the width of b to 10, so it takes up 10 spaces in total and the remaining 8 space is kept empty as a blank space and the 2 spaces is taken up by values 20 here. So in front of or in the left side of this 20 we have the 8 remaining spaces which is kept as a empty. So can you fill up the spaces? I think we can fill up the spaces also by using some special characters. What we'll do is I'll use this dash as a special character. See, we'll get the result or not. So I think there is another way. I'll be discussing it in another class. So we can like fill up the gaps with some special character also, or by using any delimiter. So we get the result something like this. In this way you can manipulate how your values are displayed on computer screen by using this setW input output manipulator. And the last concept that we'll be discussing here is how to perform read operation in C++ programming language. Now read operation means how to read the user input data into your C++ program. So let us say this is your C++ source file and you want to use the, or you want to read the user input into your C source file. In order to perform the write operation, or in order to perform the read operation into your C source file, what you have to use? You have to use iStream, which is input stream, and the example of input stream is cin object. So we'll be using the cin object in order to read the data into your C source file. And in order to use the cin, what you have to use? Cin, you have to use another special operator called as a extraction operator. So this is extraction operator, means extract the value from standard input device into a given variable name, and similar to your cout, you can cascade number of variable, means you can read values into multiple variables simultaneously by cascading this extraction operator. So cin, this is extraction operator. Let us say you want to read the values into two variables a and b. They can usually simply write cin a and b. It means extract the values from a standard input device and read it into variable a and then read it into variable b. So cin is an example of input stream which is used to read the values into your source file, and cout is the object, that is the example of output stream that is used to write the value of a variable into a standard output device. So let's write a simple program for that in order to understand the concept. So for that I'll create a new source file, save as, so io.cpp, test io, I'll write test_io.cpp. so I'll write a simple program, has include io stream, then using namespace std. Now write int main, let us say I'll write int age. I'll tell the user cout enter your age, cin, you have to use extraction operator here, cin age, and then finally cout hello your age is, you can use cascade again the insertion operator in this case, and age, and finally write return 0. So enter your age, I'll write 10, and hello your age is 10. In this way the cin is used to perform the read operation, cout is used to perform the write operation. So let us say I want to read multiple values at a time, then I will write int a comma b and enter value of a and b, means you are trying to read the two values, means values into two variable, into a and into b, and you can simply write the result as a is equals to a and b is equals to b in L. In this way you can cascade the results. You can read multiple values, means read multiple values into variable. You can write out values of multiple variable into a standard output device in this way. So 10, 20, and you can see the result is equals to a is equals to 10 and a is equals b is equals to 20. So in this way you can perform read and write operation. You can use the input output manipulator to display to manipulate how you want to display your variables and the values, and in this way you can perform the read and write operation. So I think this is the topic that I needed to cover. So thank you so much everyone, and if you have any queries please mention in the comment section, and I will be coming up with the new videos again, remaining portion of C++ program. Thank you so much everyone.